welcome or welcome back. My name is Brittany and today's video is my end of year TBR. It is wild that it's basically November. I'm filming on October 30th, right before Halloween, and like the year's pretty much over in my mind because once we hit like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, like it's done. I feel like these last couple weeks are gonna go by so fast. Another thing for me is like it's winter. It has officially snowed where I live. So while I know November is technically still fall, it's winter. Like, it's here. Winter is coming. It has arrived. So I don't like really know what the vibe is for books, but there are a few fall things I want to read. I feel like I didn't read that many spooky books. There's a few winter things I've already picked out. I've got some weird stuff. I'm in the middle of a few things. It's a little bit chaotic, but I did want to just throw some of these recommendations and my TBR plans out there in case you're looking for a few more things to add to your November and December reading plans. I am currently in the middle of The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. I have 8 hours left, 20 chapters still. This book was like 30 hours long. It's nuts. But I have 8 hours left. So close. Look at my fingerprints. Lovely. Oh gosh. So I'm working on that. I would like to finish book 3. So that is part of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. I've kind of started chatting about that. So that is book 2 of 3 for the Lifeship Traders trilogy. So I'll definitely finish that in the 3rd book as an audiobook. I'll probably take a little bit of a break unless I'm like dying to keep going. I think I'll take a little bit of break before I get into the next series, which is a Tawny Man trilogy, just so I can work on a few other things. But that's one thing happening. I've also got these 2 books open. So this first one, no one is talking about this. There you go. By Patricia Lockwood. I found this at a bookstore in Homer, Alaska. This is a staff pick from Zoe. So thank you, Zoe. I am only about a quarter of the way through and it's very strange. I don't have much thoughts further than that. It is a very interesting format. It's really broken up into like sections. Feels very fever dreamy. I feel a little dumb reading it, not gonna lie. But it's basically what I understand is it's about this woman who is a social media influencer and she is like, you know, speaking to the masses, talking to all her fans, and they all connect via the portal, which I'm assuming is like the internet, right? But things start to get a little crazy and like you can see some of her disorientation as she like spends more time online than in the real world. And then something happens with her mom. She gets a text that is like, you know, something's wrong. Can you help me? How soon can you get here? And then it says, as real life and its stakes collide with the increasingly absurd antics of the portal, the woman confronts a world that seems to contain an abundance of goodness, empathy, and justice, and a deluge of evidence to the contrary. I don't know, like there's some parts I think are really funny, and I'm like, oh, that was like witty and smart, and other parts I'm like, I don't know what you just said. One of those, I have to like really think about what I'm reading. Anyways, working on that. And then lastly, I am about halfway through this short story collection. This is a debut by Lena Valencia. I mean, like, this cover is so cool. It was a total cover buy. I'm obsessed with it. But I think I'm gonna try to finish this one this week during some work shifts so I can just read like a short story here and there without feeling like I'm like stuck or stopping or like trudging through a book that's like taking a long time. I don't love that feeling. So hoping to finish these 3 things this week so then I can move on to all these other books that sound kind of fun right now. So let's jump into that. So for some fall books, I would really like to read Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I have heard so many wonderful things about this strange little story. And I don't know, I just feel like I would like to read it. It almost feels like a booktuber crime, like straight to jail that I have not read this book. But that's fine. I don't know what it's about other than you should just read it. Like, that's how this book is always pitched. Sorry. What is it about? Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up the staircase, rooms are flooded in an instant, but Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the patterns of the labyrinth himself. There's one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truths begin to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has. No! Goodreads. They won't, keep going. Okay. Beyond Piranesi, I'm guessing one that he thought he knew or something. I've heard it's a good book, and I think it's whimsical enough to be perfect for this fall winter limbo I'm in. So Piranesi is on the list. Also, this is unhinged. This is probably not going to happen. But my audiobook for Stephen King's It just came through, and I have the hard copy as well. I heard the narrator does a really good job being creepy and sounding like Pennywise. So if I feel so inclined to read a 1,000-page book in the next couple months, this is an option. This is about the kids who have grown into adults that live in Derry, Maine, and something saw the children, lurked in the sewers. I mean, I feel like most people know, we all float down here. The fucking creepy clown and the yellow raincoat. But I do think that this would be interesting. I have not read, I feel like, a horror this year. I haven't gotten to this. I feel like this is a classic for horror readers and just Stephen King readers, which I would consider myself a fan of Stephen King. So if I am feeling crazy, maybe we'll read it. The other Stephen King book, I don't actually know if this has fall vibes, but 11/22/63 literally says November 22 in the title, so maybe I should read it in November. That's my only thought process for this book, because I've also heard this is fantastic. This follows a high school English teacher, Jake. While grading essays by his GED students, Jake reads a gruesome, enthralling piece penned by janitor Harry Dunning. 50 years ago, Harry somehow survived his father's sledgehammer slaughter of his entire family. Oh god, I actually didn't know that. That's gross. Jake is blown away, but an even more bizarre secret comes to light when Jake's friend Al, owner of a local diner, enlists Jake to take over the mission that has become his obsession, to prevent this Kennedy assassination. How? By stepping through a portal in the diner's storeroom. Finding himself in warm-hearted Jolie, Texas, Jake begins a new life, but all turns in the road. Oh my god, I can't read today. But all turns in the road lead to a troubled loner named Harry Lee Harvey Oswald. The course of history is about to be rewritten. Anyways, the course of history is about to be rewritten and to become a heart-stopping something suspenseful. I do not know what's wrong today. Wow, that was bad. I wonder if I will like this, because I read Fairy Tale earlier this year and I didn't love the portal thing. I didn't love it. I liked all the build-up for the beginning of the fairy tale story. I've also heard that there's maybe a romance in here, and that could be interesting though, because I read Billy Summers, and there's, I would say, low-key a romance in that book, and that one actually took me by surprise, and I really liked it. I really liked that story. So we will see if I want to add another 800 pages. This is nuts. Whatever. Anyways, next. Oh, Slewfoot. That is the other fall-ish book that was kind of catching my eye. That is by Brom, and I have one other book by Brom that I would like to check out, because I haven't read any of his stuff. Slewfoot is on Kindle Unlimited if you have a membership already, but this is a tale of bewitchery. Let's see if I can read this description even marginally better than the last one. This takes place in 1666. An ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him Father, Slayer, Protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, Demon, Devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in their wake. The cover of this book is stunning, and I just think that would be fun fall time. Like I said, I'm in this weird transition of is it fall? Is it winter? I don't know. Because it snowed. It feels like winter. So those are some fall things. For winter, the other Brom book, I'll just talk about that real quick, is Krampus. I have some weird wintry reads on here for y'all. This cover is horrifying. This is called Krampus the Yule Lord. Santa Claus, my dear old friend, you are a thief, a traitor, a slanderer, a murderer, a liar. But worst of all, you are a mockery of everything which I stood. You have sung your last ho 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 ho, for I'm coming to take your head. I'm coming to take back what's mine, to take back to Yuletide. Yeah, I just think, I mean, it's festive, right? It has Santa Claus. Since we're talking about like weird wintry things, the other one I want to check out is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. And I'm like 99% sure Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. So I feel like this has to be weird, right? So this is following Victoria McQueen, and she has a secret gift for finding things. She makes her way to a rickety covered bridge that within moments takes her wherever she needs to go, whether it's across Massachusetts or across the country. Charles Talent Manx has a way with children. He likes to take them for rides in his 1938 Rolls-Royce Wraith with the Nosferatu vanity plate. With his old car, he can slip right out of the everyday world and into the hidden roads that transport them to an astonishing and terrifying playground of amusement he calls Christmasland. Then one day, Vic goes looking for trouble and finds Manx. This was a lifetime ago. Now Vic, the only kid to ever survive Manx's unmitigated evil, is all grown up and desperate to forget. But Charlie Manx will never stop thinking about Victoria McQueen. He is on the road again, and he's picked up a new passenger, Vic's own son. Dun dun dun. That would be terrible. The first two reviews are actually quite interesting. You go from a 2.5 to a 4.5. I wonder what I will feel. I don't want to look up spoilers, but I do wonder like how like Christmasland and Christmassy this is. Anyways, if it does like lean into the Christmassy stuff, I think that'd be pretty fun. Next up I have Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. I have been on my Moshfegh journey this year. I got this earlier, I think in May for my birthday, but then I read the back of the book. I was like, oh, I have to save this for later. So it says the Christmas season offers little cheer for Eileen Dunlop, a young woman trapped between her role as her alcoholic father's caretaker in a home whose squalor is the talk of the neighborhood, and her day job as a secretary at a boys' prison, filled with its own quotation horrors. I should look that word up. Consumed by resentment and self-loathing, Eileen dreams of escaping to the big city. In the meantime, she fills her nights and weekends with shoplifting, stalking a buff prison guard named Randy, and cleaning up her increasingly deranged father's messes. When the bright and beautiful, cheery Rebecca St. John arrives on scene as the prison's new counselor, Eileen is enchanted and proves unable to resist what happens at first to be a miraculously budding friendship. In a Hitchcockian twist, her affection for Rebecca ultimately pulls her into complicity in a crime that surpasses her wildest imaginings. Played out against the snowy landscapes of coastal New England, young Eileen's story is told from the gimlet-eyed perspective of the now much older narrative. This powerful debut introduces one of the most original new voices, blah, 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 blah. I actually wonder, with this being her debut, how it will stack up against the other Moshfegh books I have read. Yeah, it's set in December, snowy New England. Great. Also, this is a movie, now a motion picture. Hey! So maybe I'll like watch this movie one night. That'd be cool. Next up, I have The Shining by Stephen King. I actually watched the movie for the first time last year or the year before, and it was quite enjoyable. It was a fun time. But this takes place at the Overlook Hotel. As an off-season caretaker brings his family to basically like stay through this hotel during the off-season in like the snowy mountains. But as the harsh winter weather sets in, the idyllic location feels ever more remote and more sinister. Without knowing what the book is about, but just like seeing the movie, I wonder, and I'm hoping for some like really good like creepy vibes as far as like feeling isolated goes, because I know what it's like to feel a little crazy in the winter when you're like locked up and sad and it's dark and you like don't want to go outside, but you know you should because it's good for you. And then also like for this family specifically, being trapped in such a isolated place with someone like quite unhinged. So I think this will be really interesting to read. You know, just some nice light Christmas reading. There is a book I found last year I did not get to, but it's called The Kingdom of Sweets. And this is a Nutcracker retelling by Erica Johansson. She wrote the Queen of the Tyrling series, which I have not gotten to, but I've heard really good things about it. So this book follows two sisters who are cursed from birth forever to be changed one memorable Christmas. Light and dark, this is the destiny placed upon Natasha and Clara, the birthright bestowed by their godfather, mysterious sorcerer Drosselmeyer. Clara, the favorite, grows into beauty and ease, while Natasha is cursed to live in her sister's shadow. But one fateful Christmas Eve, Natasha gets her chance at revenge, for Drosselmeyer has brought the Nutcracker, an enchanted present that offers entry into a deceptively beautiful world, the Kingdom of Sweets. In this land of snow and sugar, Natasha is presented with the power far greater than Drosselmeyer, the Sugar Plum Fairy, who is also full of gifts and dreadful bargains. As Natasha uncovers the dark destiny laid before her birth, she must reckon with powers both earthly and magical and decide which world she truly belongs. I think I said his name wrong. Drosselmeyer. Anyways, I think that sounds cool. And I like the idea of reading, like, specifically Christmas-themed things. I did the Nutcracker ballet once. I watched, like, this old, like, 90s recorded ballet many times growing up. So I, like, kind of know the ballet story, but I actually have never read, like, anything or know, like, more than that beyond those things for the story of the Nutcracker. So I think that sounds kind of neat. The other wintry one, Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I read one of Bachman's books last year around winter time, and I felt like it was a good fit for the vibe. This takes place in a small community. It's a hockey-based community. The hockey team is about to compete in the national semifinals, and they might actually have a shot at winning. All hopes and dreams of this place now rest on the shoulders of a handful of teenage boys. Under that heavy burden, the semifinal match becomes a catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and the town in turmoil. I was the hockey manager. This has nothing to do with the story, but I was a hockey manager for our high school for a couple years. My boyfriend played hockey. We got married. Great stuff. But, like, hockey is a winter sport and, like, it gives me wintry vibes. So that's the only reason why this is on here. I don't think what happens in this book is going to be great or like a nice festive time, but just the fact that it's in winter, like, we're gonna be cold. We might as well read about more cold stuff. I've heard this is a great trilogy though, and I've been wanting to check out more Frederick Bachman anyways, so add it to the list. The next series I want to get to, or at least start, is the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy by Catherine Arden. I read The Warm Hands of Ghosts by her earlier this year, and I really liked it. And I've heard this series is fantastic. This takes place in the Russian wilderness in the winter. Winter lasts most of the year, and snowdrifts grow taller than the houses. That is true. We get some really bad snowdrifts here. But Vassila doesn't mind. She spends the winter nights huddled around the embers of the fire and her beloved siblings listening to her nurse's fairy tales. Above all, she loves the chilling story of Frost, a blue-eyed winter demon who appears in the frigid night to claim unwary souls. Wise Russians fear him, her nurse says, and honor the spirits of the house and the yard and the forest to protect their home from evil. After her mother dies, her father goes to Moscow and brings home a new wife. Fiercely devout, city-bred, Vasila's new stepmother forbids her family from honoring the household spirits. The family acquiesces, but Vasila is frightened, sensing that more unhinges upon their rituals than anyone knows. And indeed, the crops begin to fail. Evil creatures of the forest creep near, and misfortune stalks the village. All the while, her stepmother grows ever harsher in her determination to groom her rebellious stepdaughter for either marriage or confinement in a convent. Yeah, that sounds terrible. But also, like, a really, like, fun atmospheric read for the winter, right? I have this as coming from an order from Pango. It's called The Snow Child by Ewan Ivey, and this takes place in Alaska, which is great. This is great. So this takes place in Alaska in 1920, a brutal place to homestead, and especially tough for recent arrivals Jack and Mabel. Childless, they are drifting apart. He is breaking under the weight of the work of the farm, and she is crumbling from loneliness and despair. In a moment of levity during the season's first snowfall, they build a child out of the snow. The next morning, the snow child is gone, but they glimpse a young, blonde-haired girl running through the trees. This little girl, who calls herself Fena, seems to be the child of the woods. She hunts with Red Fox at her side, skims lightly across the snow, and somehow survives alone in the Alaskan wilderness. As Jack and Mabel struggle to understand this child who could have stepped from the pages of a fairy tale, they come to love her as their own daughter. But in this beautiful, violent place, things are rarely as they appear, and what they eventually learn about Fiona will transform them all. I think it's gonna be sad. Perfect. Excellent. There are 2 books kind of along the same vibe. This one is called Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May. And the other one is The Little Book of Hygge, The Danish Way to Live Well by Mike Wicken. I've heard the Danish are so incredibly happy. Like, so happy. And they have weather very similar, if not a little bit harsher than ours in Alaska. And I think that's interesting because while I've lived here my whole life, I have certainly become one of those people that's like, snow, like, cool, like, get me out of here. But I want to just really embrace winter this year because, like, I can't stop it. And I can either, like, be sad and, like, depressed for the next couple months, or I can just, like, be less sad and just embrace the snow. But I think both of these will just provide, like, an interesting perspective, ways to just, like, cozy up, like, take advantage of it, just, like, enjoy the little things, like curling up with a book, and now I have a nice big list of books to do that with, so I think that sounds fun. Then just lastly, I know there's, like, a bunch of other random things I'll probably pick up, because who knows where this reading journey will take me in the next couple months. And some of these might even dip over into January and honestly February, because, like, that's how long winter lasts here. March can be nice, it just depends on how fast the snow melts, but definitely, like, through February. That's when I feel it for sure. But I really would like to either make some progress on my Harry Potter books. I think these are just, like, the perfect read and vibe for fall and winter. We have yet to do our movie marathon, but hopefully we will soon. I'd just like to read these, though, just, like, actually read them, because I don't think I have. So that was on my fall recommendations list, and I still think that it stands. And then same thing with the Lord of the Rings series. I think reading these classics and then cozying up with the movies would be really fun. Just a way to romanticize winter, have some snacks, the blankets, the dogs, you know, just, like, make it cozy when it's, like, snowing out and, like, blizzarding and dark at 4 in the afternoon. So we're gonna make the best of it, right? Right. Okay. So that is it, you guys. Those are some random reads, some fall and winter reads that are on my TBR for this season. Did anything catch your eye? Do you have something, like, specifically for the fall or winter? That's one thing I thought was fun and interesting when thinking about books. Like, does it take place in these months? Does it have snow? Like, does it have, like, that wintry feel? What are you hoping to read before the end of the year? Let me know down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!